Hi everybody, it's Leonie here from Wcki and once again, welcome. Today I want to talk about my favorite yarn or wool, like we say in South Africa, and that of course is Pure Gold by Elle. But the reason why I want to tell you about this wool is that depending on what stitch you use, you're going to have a complete different feel to your garment. Now I have used Pure Gold Elle on quite a number of those shawls with the pockets, and it's heavy, and it's the chunky that I'm using, by the way, and it felt heavy but warm, but it had a flow to it. But on those pocket shawls I used the stitch half double crochets, which I'm not sure whether I've put the video up yet for you to see, but I've also used the twisted double crochet on that specific item. So with that, it became airy, and if you lifted it, you could see it would like hang out, and it would hang out nicely. However, and this is what prompted now for me to come and talk to you today, is that I'm making another garment. You know those shrugs, or we call them cocoons, where you just do a square or a rectangle, like I've done in this case, and then you add some cuffs to it, and you add a neck ribbing to it. I've made one of those, but I didn't use double crochets. I used a stitch called alpine stitch. And as you can see, it's a lovely, lovely stitch. But because of the density of the stitch, the garment is still quite heavy because I used almost 11 balls of the Pure Gold chunky on it. But it feels extremely close. It feels almost stiff. And I've been hanging it out now for the past 2 days to see if the stitch will relax, and it is busy relaxing. So depending on what stitch you use, like I said, on the shawls that I've made, I use twisted double crochet, and it's quite spaced out and it's quite airy, if that's the word to use for it. But in this case, can you see, you can see through you can see the stitches and you can see the little gaps in between, but the feel is completely different. I had to check the labels of the yarn more than once to make sure that I've actually taken the Pure Gold and I'm actually working with the chunky, because it just feels completely different to the pocket shawls I've made. So with all this waffling, what am I saying to you? I'm saying that if you want a specific feel for your garment, check the wool that you're using or the yarn that you're using. The yarn that is good for the one item might not be necessarily suitable for the next item you're going to make. In my case, this cocoon still looks lovely. It is absolutely beautiful, and once I've worked out all the little bits and all the finishing, once I've done all the finishing touches, I'll put up a photo so you can see what it looks like. I've done a nice ribbing on it, and yes, it's crocheted all the way through. I love it, but it is feeling different to what the shawls are feeling. The shawls are, as I say, the minute you pick them up, you can see it hangs. It is softer. This one feels harder, although it's not. It feels harder, but it's because of the stitch, so the different stitch that I've used. So depending on the wool you're using, depending on the stitch you are using, you can have a completely different feel to your items that you are making. And all of that nonsense was just to say that I still love Pure Gold, if I can find it, because currently with the lockdown that we had, the factories not manufacturing at 100% capacity, it is somewhat challenging to find Pure Gold, especially the chunky one at this point in time. So if you walk into a shop and you are on the hunt for Pure Gold and you need 4, maybe 5 balls, buy the 5, because chances are that when you go back, you're not going to find the 5th ball. At this point, it is a bit difficult to get the wool, as well as the Pure Gold. If you read the label, it says it's they make it under license in India, and it only gets balled in South Africa. So We're going to wait for that ship to come in from India to bring up pure gold. So if they don't have the yarn in stock to just ball it, we ain't going to get it. So if you can find it, buy it. Buy enough. Make sure you have enough. Check your pattern. And remember, check the yardages on your, you'll see there it says, whoops, the yards and the metrages that you found. Remember that 100-gram ball of pure gold, if you stretch it out in meters, you're going to get less on pure gold than what you will get on chunky charity, for instance, because the pure gold is a heavier wool. Do not check the grams, check the meters. And with all of that, see you again.